Thank you, Jose, and good morning, everyone online and those in the room. In fact, let's let everybody hear us online. Would you put your hands together? We thank God for safe traveling mercies. What a privilege it is to be here today because we lead in these last days under significant pressure as spiritual leaders. If you believe that, would you raise your hand with me? What pressure, what kind of pressure do we serve under? We know by research that our pastors felt pressured during the pandemic when we really weren't worshiping together on and on, Sabbath after Sabbath. And many of them have expressed that they feel under pressure because still congregations are polarized. Liberals, conservatives, Republicans in the United States, and Democrats in the United States, and beyond, a polarized society in which we live. And yet we have been called to reach our division for Christ. And I want to share some things with you very quickly. First of all, as we go to the screen and think about our state, there is a need, a great need to reach people for Christ. In fact, if that need ever dies and goes away, you and I can close all of the churches, all of the schools, and forget about it. But Jesus said the harvest was what, everyone? Great, and the laborers are, let me prove it to you. First of all, in our division, we have 331 million people in the United States, 38 million people in Canada, 63,000 people in Bermuda, 170,000 people in Guam, 113,000 in the Micronesian Islands, which has a footprint as large as the United States. And then we have a total of all of those places, geographies, a people group of 370 million people to reach. That seems daunting, but let's look at it for a moment. Out of 370 million people, we only have 4,386 licensed and ordained ministers in our division. We have 5,000 churches, and with companies equals 6,500. And yet we have a membership of 1.2 million members, trying to reach 370 million people. I want to remind us today that God specializes in the majority being reached by the minority. I don't have time to tell you that God doesn't need a majority to reach the majority. He can use one heart to reach thousands. And this morning, pastors, one of the things that I want to remind us of is that we pastor, we lead as spiritual leaders in complexity and polarization. We have more generations today in our communities than ever before, from Gen Y to the builders, the busters, the millennials, the Gen X's, and on and on. And all of these generations hear our messaging in their generational life. And we have to understand that we not only are in a post-Christian time, let me put them on the screen here, we are also in an anti-biblical time where people not only don't accept the Bible, they are against the Bible. And that's the time in which we are finding ourselves leading as spiritual leaders. Also today, there is a huge technological impact on ministry and media. And as we think about our 3 M's at the division, multiply, mentoring, and media, how can we use media to reach the world for Christ? We ought not run from it, but we ought to run to it and educate ourselves and be multipliers of God's grace. As we think about pastoring today, as we think about leading as spiritual leaders, how can we achieve this daunting task? On any given Sabbath, 6% of our pulpits are filled with elders. We estimate that there are 22,000 local church elders in our division. What if we mobilized the local church elders? That would be a huge momentum and missional swing to what we do. And so how can we achieve what God has called us to do? First of all, be missional in all we do. Say that with me. Be what, everybody? Missional in all we do. It's okay today to ask, why are we doing what we're doing? And today I want us to understand that we have the opportunity and the right and the privilege as leaders in the church here in these last days to ask the church institution and hold it accountable that whatever it does, it should be missional. The institution should not be fed by the mission necessarily. The institution should feed the mission. I thought somebody ought to say amen about that. And God can use the minority to reach the who, everybody? The majority. So often today we get caught up in methodologies. We get caught up in using this person or that person. What I want to encourage all of us in the room and online is to do something for Jesus, whether it's proclamation, whether it's a personal Bible study, whether it's simply like I did the other day, I got my shoes shined. I don't think they can show this on the camera. I went to Nordstrom's. I had a little free time, and I sat in the chair, and for $6, I got my shoes shined, and I talked to a Catholic brother who was shining my shoes, and boy, we had a time. He said, "Pastor, I used to date a Seventh-day Adventist, and I didn't marry her. But I want you to know that she gave me a great witness while we were dating of abstinence." And he went on to tell the story of his relationship with his ex-girlfriend who was a Seventh-day Adventist, not knowing that he was shining the shoe of a pastor until I told him. And the thing that I want us all to know today is we can reach people where they are. And we can help them to understand that Jesus can speak in the carpenter's shop, and yes, in the mechanic shop. He can speak in the synagogue, and yet he can speak at an open-air event. But what I'm trying to say today, pastors, is do something for Jesus Christ. Let the work be ours that he has called us to. Let the results be his. May God bless us in this 2023 eHuddle as we encourage, inspire, and do something for God, because he specializes in using the minority to reach the 370 million people in our division. God bless you.